And today we start from there, the story of Haroot and Maroot, because here your head will spin as well. The story of Haroot and Maroot. Of course, we said the correct opinion, Wallahu A'lam, is that they are indeed angels. Even though there are a lot of mufassirin who said otherwise, because they were trying to exonerate the angels from teaching magic. And furthermore, that this was given to them by Allah. وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ. We mentioned the opinion of Imam al-Tabari and many others that this is all a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah gave it to them as a test. So, and we will get to that part. Haroot and Maroot, who are they? Is there a story behind them? We mentioned the opinion of Imam Ibn Ishaq and others that Haroot and Maroot's time is way back from before the time of Nuh alayhi salam. So there's a huge time span between the time of Prophet Sulaiman and Al-Malakain bi Babil, Haroot wa Maroot. There are many narrations that give us a story that goes something like this. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam and then sent him down, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed the angels to see what the human beings were doing on earth. So they were amazed. And they said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at everything that they're doing despite all of your blessings upon them, O Allah. So He said to them, if I send you down in a similar way that I sent them, you would do the same. Meaning that obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that case would give them the same desires that human beings have, and would also be subject to the insinuations and whispering of the shaitan and the shayateen for that matter. So the angels chose two of them, Haroot and Maroot, to be sent down. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them not to worship anyone but Him, not to steal, not to drink, not to commit fornication, not to kill, and so on. The story goes that as they were busy judging between people, a woman came complaining about her husband. And they saw her and they were attracted to her and they desired her. And when they asked her, she said, she refused. She said, until you worship an idol and you drink alcohol. Some narrations mention that they first refused, but eventually they did that in order, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, to commit fornication with her. So they drank alcohol, they worshipped idols, and they committed fornication. And because someone was passing by that might expose them, they killed him. So the narration mentions that in one day they had done everything that was prohibited upon them. And they are the ones that were shocked by what human beings were doing. Upon that, they taught her words, maybe words of magic that she could say in order to ascend into the heavens. And when she made her ascent into the heavens, she forgot the words that would bring her back down, and therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned her into a planet or a star. Okay? The narration mentions that her name in Arabic is Zuhra. Okay? the planet that we know, Kawkab al-Zuhra. For them, they were not able to go back and ascend into the heavens. And therefore they stayed on earth and they taught people magic. This is the basic idea of the story behind Haroot and Maroot that you may read in a lot of the books of tafsir. Of course, scholars had issues with this narration. It smacks clearly of the stories of Bani Israel, with a lot of strange things that may lead scholars to say this is weak just based on the content rather than the chain of narration. On the other hand, it has been narrated by many, narrated by some of the Sahaba as well. Ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Umar, and of course many of the Tabi'een like Mujahid and Qatada and As-Suddi and Al-Rabi' and others. Okay? When looking at the many different ways that this was narrated, Imam Ibn Hajar believes that there's some foundation for the story. It's not completely fabricated. Even though scholars of hadith may accuse Ibn Hajar, rahimahullah, of being a little bit easy and flexible when it comes to judging the authenticity of narrations. Ibn Kathir comments on this, and or before that, when you look at the different narrations, you may find that actually, when you look at all of them, it's not correct to attribute any of this to the Prophet ﷺ, but possibly to Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, who took it from whom? Ka'b al-Ahbar, who is, of course, one of those who came, one of the Jewish scholars who came to Islam, and is known for narrating many of these stories of Bani Israel. So, you go this way, you go that way, in the end it seems to be based on the narration of Ka'b al-Ahbar. So, it is Israeliyat. In the end, it is Israeliyat. And this is why Ibn Kathir says, yes, it has been narrated by many of the Tabi'een, and as I told you, actually even some of the Sahaba. He mentions it has been narrated by many of the Tabi'een, but it is clearly of the akhbar of Bani Israel. And there is no authentic narration from the one who does not speak of his own volition or of his own desire, the Prophet ﷺ. Nothing is properly and correctly attributed to him. And therefore he says, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions it in brief, without any detail. We believe in it as Allah mentioned it, and we are not obligated to believe that everything else that happened that we just mentioned. And indeed, of course, as you can see, the embellishment in the narration is very clear, right? Furthermore, it does seem to contradict the isma of the malaika in this aspect, that we believe that the angels do not sin or disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, the retort might be of someone who says otherwise is that this was an exception and that Allah made them like the human beings, so it's kind of an exception, Wallahu a'lam. But as we said, when you look at the whole narration, there's a lot there that makes it hard to believe. And this is the difference, subhanAllah, between the fabricated narrations and a lot of these embellished stories of Bani Israel and what is actually true and authentic. What is actually true and authentic is usually immediately believable and logical. It's easy to swallow and accept, as opposed to some of these stories. So it seems, wallahu a'lam, that at least the way it has been mentioned is not true. Are they fallen angels, as this narration seems to indicate? Allahu a'lam. Allahu a'lam. Maybe they are fallen angels. Maybe that part is correct, which is that the angels were shocked and Allah allowed them to try it. But maybe without the rest of the details about meeting a woman and killing that man and all of that. Are they fallen angels? Allahu a'lam. It's an issue about which scholars may differ. The safest thing might be to say that this is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it without details, as Ibn Kathir mentioned. But a lot of other things are mentioned sometimes in the tafsir without the detail. Allah mentions it in brief, but we are to look into it and research and try to discover. So Allahu a'lam. Allah is telling us there are two angels. Their names are Haroot and Maroot. They are in Babel and they are teaching magic. Bismillah. وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلْ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ. By the way, other narrations mention that they were, when they stayed on earth and they were teaching magic, they were punished by being hanged from their feet. And you will find pictures online of them being hanged by their feet. And you will find stories also amongst the Jews about two fallen angels. So subhanallah, it's Allahu a'lam, subhana man ya'lam. وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلْ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ.